Turn to your side and sit up. Yeah, just turn and sit up. And come back. Let's go the other way. Is there a difference in the coordination? And the fear, the sense of where you are in space. But how is it that you lost the table on going this way? No, that's okay. But there's a reason why you didn't know where the table was.
Well, that's probably before I started.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, please come again. So we began to lift underneath, and we began to make the first movement of lifting, which meant finding this way of lifting and gliding a person's head and finding where we can support way under the head. And many of you found that that's lighter, yeah? Now, we're going to play with this more tomorrow, but we don't have that much time. We'll have a first go of this. All right. How do we know which way is the easiest way for her to lift? Look at her foot, look at her leg, look at the way her ribs. What would her sternum do? So, as I'm sitting here, and I can bring my hand under her shoulder, and I start the movement to lift, and I can ask, which way does her sternum move? I touch her, and you can watch her sternum. It moves left, to the right, relatively easily. What do her ribs do? What does the shoulder do? Which direction does it go? Is it easier for her shoulder to go that way? Or is it easier for her shoulder to come upwards? Her head, when it rolls, at this point, does it roll in that direction? Or does it roll in that direction? So if I think of this movement in its most cohesive way possible, what would she have to do to be able to make this movement where everything would roll together so that she could be in the position of sitting up, rolling to sit? Doesn't she look like she's well organized? Yeah. Yeah. So there's something in this movement, the way her shoulder, the way her shoulder beneath, the way her ribs. What would you anticipate that these ribs would have to do if she's going to sit up? Which way would they have to go? They'd have to slide under the scapula, and they would slide into the table, wouldn't they? So that she could, in this situation, keep her head sliding forward. Yeah? Now, when we start to make this movement, if I put my hand here and I find out that shoulder goes easily. What about this one? It's funny. If I lift under this shoulder and place my hand on this shoulder and that shoulder, that's easy, isn't it? Yeah? If I put my hand under this shoulder, what do I find? If I put my hand on this shoulder, what do I find? What is immediately available within her? Does she meet the criterion to be able to move in any direction without hesitation or preparation? Nobody does. Nobody does. Yeah, it's a funny thing, right? Okay. Shall we explore this a little bit? You can bring your tables out and you can explore this a little bit with each other, okay? So here's what we'll do. First of all, guess. When you look, which way would the person roll? Yeah? When you think, if you think she goes that way, which I think she does, I'm going to bring my hand under her scapula, and I'm just simply going to, how am I going to lift? I'm going to do the same thing I've done in every other thing. I'm not with my arm. I'm going to take my pelvis and my hand, and I'm going to give a little bit of lift to find out what's available. I'm going to sense whether her sternum will, which direction will her sternum move more easily. I'm going to sense, what does the opposite shoulder do? Does it want to come into my hand? Does it melt away from me? Is it available? Or does it become kind of held? Yeah. Then I'm going to come to the other side. Lift, sense. Is it immediately available? She's getting better, by the way. She's learning already from the experience. But as I make this movement, I can sense into my hand. I would have to use force to push her into the ground. Yeah? This movement is easy. This movement, difficult. This movement's easy. This movement's not so easy. Yeah? Now, if you could imagine what's taking place with her ribs and her scapula underneath on the table, what kind of pattern of pressure are her ribs making as she moves from her left shoulder towards her right shoulder? If we could take the table and make it a plexiglass table, and you could look up and you could sense what's happening with her ribs underneath on the table that makes it possible for this movement to be smooth. Yeah. So we take a moment and we explore. We explore this moment of what's easy, and we come back to where she rests, and then you can, little touches. My hand is just resting, and I'm inviting her to move from her spine over into her right shoulder. And because she's clever, she doesn't go right across into her right shoulder. She doesn't go across that way. Her ribs go towards her right hand. Yeah. Now I can start this and say, okay, here you are. Here's the beginning point. Here's what it's like for this shoulder to lift easy. What will you have to do in yourself for this shoulder to become easy? Great. Come back again. And just for the moment, you sit right here, and this first movement goes across here like that easily. Right there. Now you take that movement right there, you make that move. Ah, beautiful. That's it. And you come a little further. Now, when you make this movement this way, this shoulder is happy to go that way. What will you have to do in yourself that as you come across here, that this shoulder, you see there's no pressure. What do you have to do to have your shoulder That's right. So that if you come across here and you come across from one shoulder to the other in such a way that this hand lengthens away, and then as you make this movement from your right shoulder, and by the way, if you're going to come across from your right shoulder to your left, so that I could have now her head rolling and come back across, and then I can make it so that I touch her in such a way that her head rolls and her head rolls. And her shoulders move freely, and her shoulders move freely. And you see the coordination now that comes in? Here comes her knee. Here comes her knee. Now, what happened? Huh? What happened? How did this shoulder come up? And how did her head, if her shoulder comes here, where must her head go? It can't help but go back, can it? Yeah? Different world, isn't it? Yeah? Look what she's finding with these ribs here. Yeah? Yes. Now she can find her ribs and make it so that her whole self can lift up. And she can come down here and find her shoulder and then roll herself moment by moment by moment by moment by moment. And which way is she rolling? Is she rolling this that way? Or is she rolling this into the ground? Into the ground. Yes. Look at the way her ribs. And where's she going now? Is she rolling this forward, or is she rolling this in connection in such a way that she will? Now you'll see something really extraordinary. You see how close her whole torso, how close to her weight everything is. Yeah. Now let's watch. Boop. The whole image becomes more hers, doesn't it? Yeah. The simple movement that before was so clear, that what's clear now? Yeah. Now she's up. Now she's up. Oh, I missed her. It's okay. Now she's up. Now she fell. She didn't follow the same criteria. She came out in such a way that she reached past the ability for this weight, came out so far out that she was out here. Now she can't support herself. But she can support herself with the weight that's there. Yeah. Work with your partner on making it simple for them to roll from one side to the other. And imagine for yourself, what do their ribs have to do on the side that's not so easy? How can you help them find the ribs, the sternum? The sternum you can touch with. You have to, it's, the ribs have to be able to melt. It's not what this does to come over. It's the way that she finds the table underneath and coordinates. Look at the coordination, her knee. She knows the exact moment. She knows. Look at her knee. No hesitation. That's perfect. Yeah? Okay. You have time for one person to play for a few minutes. All right? Thank you so much. You can get up that side for a moment. All the way. All the way. There you go.